All right, it's 12:01. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining us this afternoon to learn more about an exciting opportunity to continue or initiate partnership with Toledo Public Schools and our Schools as Community Hubs initiative. I am really excited to talk about the Hubs initiative and share with you some of the great things that we're doing, as well as make sure that you are aware of how to contribute and connect with this work. So I am going to share my screen and go through some information. And I'm starting at the end, which is not where I want to start. So with my screen open, I cannot see you anymore. And so before I kind of kick over to my screen, I'll just say, welcome everyone. I'm Gail. I'm the community liaison for Toledo Public Schools. And it is my extreme pleasure to be able to support our hubs efforts, our Schools as Community Hubs efforts within Toledo Public Schools. And so today I'm going to walk us through, we're going to spend some time talking about our hubs and caution you all that once I start talking about the hubs, it sometimes gets a little dangerous because I can spend a lot of time talking about the hubs. I'm going to try to be very succinct, very focused, and of course allow opportunities for you to have to ask any questions that you have. So we'll start by talking about the hub strategy, the work that we're doing within the hub space, and then we'll transition into some of the key roles, namely that of lead partner, which is why a lot of you are here today, and then talk through the RFP process to make sure everyone's clear on expectations of the RFP process and how you can, again, kind of fulfill that process or connect with that process. So that's what we'll go through. Because I can't see you, raising hands is not helpful. So you're welcome to just interrupt me if necessary, or if you have a question at any point, you're welcome to just kind of interrupt me and we can go from there. Although I don't actually think I can let people in once I start presenting either. So forgive me for one moment. I'm just going to let someone else in and then I can. Well, I don't know where they went. Okay, we'll try that again. Apologies. Let me go back to sharing my screen. All right. All right. So so this is our agenda. Again, this is what we're going to cover today. Again, welcome. You're welcome to interrupt and interject at any time to ask any questions you might have. We love to start with this graphic when we talk about the Schools as Community Hub strategy, because this is the visual representation of what we do. This is this notion that our hubs exist to help recognize that our students are coming to school with so much baggage, with so much trauma, with so many barriers that we can see and can't see. And our job as hubs is to see that and is to respond to that by either providing services and resources that lighten some of that baggage, or by ensuring that we're strengthening our students' muscles, our families' muscles, our administrators and teachers' muscles to, again, help carry that baggage a little bit differently. And so this graphic is, again, a great representation of what we as hubs do. We see what our students are bringing with them. We see what our students are overcoming in their efforts to get to school and succeed academically and to grow into healthy adults, and our job is to make sure that we're responding and supporting and strengthening resources and services so that our students can succeed and can thrive. Within our Schools as Community Hubs work, our mission is to align resources to create thriving communities, resulting in everyone achieving their potential. And we envision safe, healthy communities where everyone has opportunities. This is really what grounds us. We believe in this tagline of whole child, whole family, whole community, because we serve to ensure that we are creating whole children, whole families, whole communities. And it's a really important piece for us to focus on some of the words that are highlighted here. We really focus on the everyone aspect of these mission and vision statements. Just a quick overview of our work in the Hub's strategy. You can see our little infographic here. We focus on 3 priority areas. All of this centers on our efforts to align resources to create change. We focus on facilitating family and community engagement. We focus on promoting academic success, and we focus on fostering health and well-being. So the strategy really rests on those 3 priority areas. And then specific activities and specific actions and resources and services stem from those priority areas in response to what's identified locally within our hub communities. We believe that schools serve as an access point for resources. So that's why these hubs exist within Toledo Public Schools. We know that our schools are natural anchor points within community, and we want to make sure that we're aligning resources within those schools to, again, tackle these priority areas and respond to local context and local community. And when we say local, we mean the community that includes our students and our families and our staff, of course, and also the residents and community members and community leaders and businesses that exist within the neighborhoods that surround our schools. We want to make sure that we're focusing on the alignment. We have it in our infographic. We have it in our mission statement. I have joked about getting it tattooed on my forehead. We've really focused on alignment. We don't want, hubs do not work to create random acts of partnership. We really want to make sure that the work that we're doing within our hub schools is aligned both within itself. So our partners are aware and coordinated and collaborative, of the others with the other services available, but then also, of course, aligned to those needs and priorities that have been established. All that we do here in Toledo with our Schools as Community Hub strategy is based on a local implementation of a national model. Nationally, this work is called the Community Schools work, and it's been around for decades. It's incredibly well researched. It's an incredibly developed model that creates a great, strong framework for us to take and tailor and adapt and amend to our local environment. I want to share with you just a few of the national kind of fundamental pieces of this work. This little infographic that you can see, you probably can't see it, but is on our website. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But we really kind of focus on the 4 pillars of community schools. I'm going to use hubs and community schools interchangeably, but we call it hubs here locally. The national strategy is called community schools. And so within our community schools here, our hubs here, we will see expanded enriched learning opportunities. This is opportunities for students and families to engage and to be enriched beyond our typical school days. We see active family and community engagement. We recognize the power of families and the power of community voice. And so we seek to not just welcome families in, but to actively engage them, actively kind of go in and grab them and make sure that they feel that they have a role and a meaningful opportunity to contribute. We lean into collaborative leadership. We see that our building leaders are engaging our community leaders in decision making, in sort of shared ownership for student success and family outcomes and community outcomes. We also very much believe in integrated student support. So what happens during the out of school time and and when our kids are in the community or in their homes, we want to make sure that there is some integration with what happens in the school day. We recognize that we get our kids for 6.5 hours, 7 hours during the school day. And so we want to make sure that the supports and resources that are available to them in that time and out of that time are cohesive and again, responsive. And there's a 5th pillar that's currently being developed that I just wanted to mention, because really at the heart of this, Toledo Public Schools, we believe in equity. We believe it is our responsibility to ensure that we create space to disrupt those systems where our kids do not have sort of equitable access to opportunities or services or resources. And so this strategy really is a vehicle to dismantle and disrupt those systems. It really is a vehicle to ensure that we're providing equitable opportunities to our students and families within the community setting. And so this is kind of what we base our work on. And then because, as I said, this national model is built to be locally adaptive. This is what it looks like here in Toledo. So these are some of our signature elements within our community schools model here in Toledo. Every community school, every hub that we have will have a full-time hub director. And this is a full-time employee whose job it is to enact that mission and to make sure that there are ample resources and services responding to community priorities, and that they're moving forward in action planning and engaging community and engaging our staff meaningfully in a collaborative relationship. Another signature element here in Toledo is a hub team, a hub advisory team. And these teams are composed of internal stakeholders and community stakeholders that create a really comprehensive kind of guiding team, advisory team, to understand how we can recognize the sort of breadth of conditions that contribute to our students' success and how we can leverage different resources to respond to some of the barriers that our students and our families are seeing. So that hub team is really an important piece of this work, because it's not just us. It's not just me. It's not just our hub directors. It's not just our school leadership. It's a comprehensive approach in which we leverage expertise and knowledge and community understanding from those influencers and stakeholders within community. We have hub partner meetings. That's another signature element. Our partners are collaborative. They're coordinated. They're not sort of randomly operating in isolation. We have partners across the district in every single one of our schools. In our hub schools, we see that those partners are, again, coordinated. They're working together. They're aware of the services available through other avenues, and they're making sure that students and families are linked, again, more broadly, more comprehensively. And then finally, our last signature element here in Toledo is our community discovery process. And this is my favorite thing, so I promise not to talk about it too much, but every 3 years approximately, we undergo a comprehensive community discovery process where we engage our key stakeholders in some surveys, as well as some interviews and some focus groups to really understand what progress has been made and what priorities and what needs and gaps still exist within communities. So we capture student voice, we capture staff voice, we capture parent voice, and we capture resident voice as well. And we kind of marry all of those voices with the intent of kind of identifying some of those priorities that are common and thematic across all of the different stakeholder groups. And we establish those priorities, and we welcome community then in to kind of give their stamp of approval. They recognize and we understand that, yes, that we have heard you. And these are the priorities within our community. And then we create action steps and ensure that we have specific solutions, specific steps we can take, specific services and resources that are attached to those priorities. And then we share ownership for the success of that work, right? So then that leads back into the role of a hub director to drive that, a hub team to leverage resources to respond to those action plans, partners that are aligned and integrated with those action plans. And it really becomes very cyclical in its implementation. And so these community discoveries are such a great way for us to really ensure that what we're doing is responsive to local community priorities and needs, and also recognizing the assets within community as well, not just those needs, and how do we leverage those assets to be successful. So that's a little bit about the strategy kind of nationally and locally. And I know I have flown through this and I can talk about this all day, and I'm happy to do so. But let me just pause for a moment. I'm going to transition into some of the key roles because I want to make sure that I'm getting as concrete as I can within this information session. So let me pause for a moment and see if anyone has any questions. And again, you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask if you have any questions.
Hi, this is Dilip Das at
Yes,
University of Toledo. My question is, there is funding for a full-time hub director, and does that include benefits, health insurance?
Great question. Yes. So we can, thanks, Dr. Das, this RFP is for a grant that would cover the cost of salary and potentially benefits for a full-time hub director, but it's really based on the salary structure of the lead partner. So if you'll pause on that question for just a moment, I will get to that, to the specifics around that in just a few minutes. Does anyone else have any questions about the strategy piece? All right, I'm gonna skip through some of the key roles. I'm gonna kind of go through them a little bit quickly so that I can get to the meat and potatoes of what Dr. Das just asked. So I just want to highlight some of the key roles within the hub implementation space. Obviously, hub school leadership. I don't know that I need to really go into this slide in great detail, but our hub school leadership is to recognize, their role is to really recognize that they're kind of the drivers of this work from the from the school perspective, from the educator perspective. And so their job is to integrate the hub in all that they do as a school. So they, as a school, are a hub. Our schools do not have hubs, they are hubs, and that's a very important mindset for us to ensure that integration. And our hub school leadership, and we don't just mean principals, we mean the multitude of staff within our schools. We really lean in on them to be champions of the work, to make space for the work. And I don't mean just classroom space or office space, but really to create space for community to contribute meaningfully to our school outcomes. That's really the primary role of the leadership within our school. A key role that I want to just spend a minute on is our hub director role. So Dr. Dawes asked a question about the funding to support the cost of a hub director. So a hub director is a non-negotiable part of this. It's a signature element of Toledo's implementation of the model, full-time hub director in each hub, whose job it is to really build relationships and align resources. There's that word again. They are what we call our dot connector, a puzzle maker, our tapestry weaver. They're the individual who really drives forward the action plan, who really spends a lot of time unpacking and understanding the needs and what's available to meet those needs. And so that's really the role of a hub director. They are the liaison, the point of contact within our hub schools, and they work in tandem, in collaboration, in conjunction with our principals and our building leadership on a daily basis. And then the lead partner, they are the grant recipient. So this is an organization, typically an individual identified within the organization serves as my primary point or our primary point of contact within the lead partner organization. But this is the organization that would be the grant recipient. So this is who would apply. This is the organization that would apply to serve in this lead partner capacity. Their responsibilities, your responsibilities as a lead partner, are to hire, orient, train, support your hub director. You employ the hub director who's in our buildings. This model is really important to us because we want lead partners who are trusted organizations in community, or trusted partners within community, particularly because TPS isn't always the most trusted. And so we really want to make sure that we're meaningfully and intentionally engaging organizations who are trusted within community. We also want to make sure that we are working with organizations to leverage their own resources to advance hub goals. Those resources don't exclusively mean financial resources. We also want to make sure that we have lead partner organizations who are linked with other institutions, other resources that can come and join us in our meeting the needs of students, families, and community members. And so this role of lead partner is really, really important because they are expected to champion the work, not just within the strategy, but externally as well. We want lead partners who recognize the importance, the real value of linking and meaningfully integrating community into schools and making resources available within schools. We want organizations who believe in that, who work towards that, who have a seat at the table, at many tables that can really advance this work, and who speak very publicly about how important hubs are to the success of students, to the success of families, to the success of our community very broadly. So I do want to just take a moment and note that there are some resources, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in a minute, but on our website, and I'll share with you the link, there are roles and responsibilities documents for each of these key roles that I've identified. So this is just a high-level snapshot of the responsibilities and role of the school leadership, of the hub director, and of the lead partner. There is much more information about what that specifically looks like on our website. And I just wanted to, again, underscore that as a lead partner, you are the grant recipient, and your job is to hire the hub director and support that hub director in being successful in aligning those resources to create change and meet the needs of our students, our families, and our community. I'll pause for a second, and then I'll get into the tentative timeline for the RFP process. Any questions about the lead partner role? Okay. So our tentative timeline, so the non-tentative part of our timeline is May 25th at 5 p.m. our applications are due. I do want to note that on the application, in the application document, in the RFP document, you will see a note, an expectation that as you submit your application, you also submit a completed readiness assessment, organizational lead partner readiness assessment. That is linked in the RFP, and it's available on our website. And that really speaks to some of those key elements that we know are very valuable in a lead partner. So that they have a seat at a table already that connects within that community, that they are visible and present within community, that there is an awareness of needs, priorities, resources, that they're open to collaborative planning. So the readiness assessment is important to us because it really highlights some of those elemental pieces of a lead partner organization that we have found to that lead to more, greater success in that role. After the applications are due, they'll be reviewed internally, and then our hub schools will receive the applications, and they have been asked to assemble teams of individuals, both TPS employees as well as community influencers or community partners, that will conduct interviews of applicants who submit to be the lead partner. So those interviews likely are expected to take place between May 30th and June 9th. Those have not been scheduled yet. We have to see, our schools are working through, it's the end of the year, so our schools are working through a lot of end of year deliverables. And so as applications come in, we'll also be concurrently scheduling those interviews. So we'll notify applicants as quickly as possible about when those interviews will be. They may be virtual, they may be in person. It'll be dependent on the hub team, but of course we'll be as communicative as we can about those interviews. And the important piece of that interview process for us is it complements the written application, and the relationship between a lead partner and school leadership is paramount to the success of this strategy. And so those interviews really give us an opportunity to dig a little deeper, to kind of go behind the curtain, to understand how organizations who are interested in leading this work are designed to lead this work, and how collaborative and strong that partnership can be. We do intend to send notices out to partners, all applicants, whether accepted or not, by June 16th for the contract start date of July 1. Now, again, this is a tentative timeline. In the RFP, we do say that extensions may be granted, and we recognize that our current contracts for hubs expire June 30th. And so we want to make sure that we are minimizing disruption to our hub operations by working this very aggressive timeline to make sure that we've got partnerships in place July 1. So that's the timeline. And then here are the funding levels. Now, finally, thank you for your patience. So the grant is for $70,000. We do expect lead partners to contribute a minimum of $5,000. It is not a cash contribution necessarily. We just expect that the 75,000, so the 70 we give you, the 5 that we expect lead partners to contribute would cover the cost of salary and benefits for the hub director. Each organization employs the hub director, and so whatever your organizational structure is for salary and benefits, that is not for us to determine. We're contracting with you to make that determination. So if that is insufficient to cover the expenses of having a position within your organization, then that's something that obviously you would need to discuss internally because your contributions then would be larger than that 5,000. And of course, there may be opportunities. We're constantly looking for opportunities to support fundraising and grant seeking and other resource development efforts so that we can increase, the funding. But at this point, this is the current funding commitment. The grant would be for July 1 to June 30th of next year, with the expectation of annual renewal. This is federal. We're looking at federal funds, and so there are requirements for that we have to uphold as a district, which is why we are going through this RFP process. This is one of those federal mandates for utilizing federal dollars. And so every 3 years, we will have to go through an RFP process. And that's why we can only do these annually. However, the expectation is that this is longer term funding. It's not, it is, stable federal dollars, as stable as federal dollars get. So I did want to just note that. Before I jump onto resources, I feel like this is probably something that people might have questions on. So does anybody have questions at this point?
Gail, Jackie Carroll with New Concepts. I have a question. So for existing partners, whether we provide prevention or, programming in lieu of suspension, behavioral health, is there a conflict between that partnership and this partnership that would eliminate consideration?
Jackie, that is a terrific question. And we do have partners who both operate programming and lead a hub. We just would need to make sure that there's clear distinction. So we have, just as an example, we have a partner who is the hub lead partner and operates an after-school program at that same school. Different staff, different requirements through funding, different operation or, sort of organizational structure on the implementation of those different lanes. And obviously there is a benefit to being a lead partner and a program operator because our hubs support enrollment and programming. They support, attendance and programming and that kind of stuff. And so there's certainly a benefit to kind of fitting both roles, but there would have to be some clear delineation of those specific roles. Does that answer your question?
Yes, very well. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, Gail. This is Imelda Hunt, New Works Writer Series.
Yes.
And you are using RFP and application interchangeably, correct? Are you using that interchangeably?
I'm probably misusing it, Ms. Hunt. So the RFP is what we put out. We are putting out a request for proposals, and then our partners are submitting applications in response to those requests for proposals. So I apologize for using those interchangeably. I tried to catch myself, but I obviously didn't. So we are asking for applications through our RFP process, and then partners are submitting those applications.
Thank you.
Yes. So I'll just switch to resources then really quickly. And I'm not going to click on this link because I'm afraid I won't be able to get back. But, well, no, let's give it a shot. Let's give it a shot, friends. So this is our hub's website on our TPS page. This will be linked in what I send you. You can also navigate by going to tps.org, community partners, and then schools as community hubs, and you'll come right here. On this page, you'll see the RFP right here that contains the full content. You'll see this is our infographic where you can kind of see some of the details about our, sort of overview of what it is to be a hub. Our FAQ, our frequently asked questions about our hub work, the reporting summary that's hot off the press, just updated this morning, that sort of counts the impact and the work that's happened in our hubs over the past 9 months. It's our Q1 through 3 at this point. You'll see over here hub happenings. This is where you can see our newsletters that are sent out monthly. You can read about the great things that are happening within our hub schools. And then this is the page I wanted to draw most of the attention to. This is Hubs 101. So here's where you'll find some national resources. Here are the 4 pillars that I talked about. These are the national models, links to national models that kind of drive the work and create our foundation for the work that we do here. And then here are the expansion resources, is how they're labeled. So these are the resources that I referenced earlier. You can see the roles and responsibilities for those key stakeholders that I mentioned. You can see some information about the Hub advisory team, which again was mentioned, that lead partner readiness assessment. This is what's also linked within the RFP. So this is an important tool that I want to make sure that, that you as partners are spending some time in and submitting within your application. And then there's also a Hub school readiness, because as we look at what schools, we're concurrently looking at what schools might be ready to be hubs as well. And so that is the tool that we use to determine the school readiness as we look to expand the strategy as well. So this website will be, I think, a very helpful resource for organizations who are interested in applying to be lead partner, particularly if you haven't been involved in the hubs as deeply before. And so I just wanted to make sure that, to draw your attention to that resource. And I will also note that we are continually updating it. We really had very little information about our hubs about a week ago. And so we have added a ton of information thus far, and we're continuing to add hub-specific information for our existing hubs, and then, of course, other strategy information as we kind of sift through all of the information we have available. So if you have specific questions about implementation, if you have questions about the RFP, if you have questions about what it takes to be a lead partner, specifically what we're looking for in lead partners, if you have questions about implementation or about school priorities, please don't hesitate to reach out. I do ask, this is obviously my email address, y'all have that, I'm sure, but I do just ask that you note the subject of Hub's RFP inquiry, just so that can raise it to the top of my inbox, so that I can be as responsive as possible. And I do ask for those questions come in before May 20th, just to give me ample time to respond, so that you have time to incorporate whatever that response is into your application. So of course we can be flexible, and I want to be as helpful as possible. Our goal at Toledo Public Schools is to make sure that we are moving forward in our schools as hubs, schools as community hubs implementation, that we're working with lead partners who are committed to this work, who have trust within the community to engage meaningfully in this space, and who have their own resources, connections, tables that they sit at that can be leveraged to, again, kind of advance the community schools work, but most importantly, ensure that our kids are thriving, our families are thriving, and our community is thriving. And so that's our overall goal and our commitment as we go through this process and as we move forward in our hubs implementation. And I'm not sharing the right screen, friends. Technology and I are terrible friends. So here's that last screen with the information for contacting me. So now I'll pause and I'm really going to stop sharing so I can focus on you all. And please let me know, do you have any questions? Okay, wonderful. Well, you all know how to get a hold of me, glake@tps.org. Happy to answer any specific questions. I know this was a really quick, high-level overview, but hopefully you are comfortable and you understand the process. You understand how to get more information about hubs, and would love to connect and support you in your application as needed. So thank you for joining us. I'm really grateful for the faces that I see and the names that I see, and really excited about the potential, the opportunities that we have in front of us to continue to strengthen our hubs works. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Gail.
Thank you. Bye.